When Andres Gomez got to Northbrook from Klein Cain back in 2020, he brought with him a freshness that the program desperately needed. And now in 2023, Coach Gomez is working day in, day out to get Northbrook into contention. Coach Gomez's love for football dates all the way back to his playing days at Katy High School under the legendary Mike Johnston.
Well, I mean, it gave me an example of what I should be, what a head coach should be, what a football staff should be. You know, besides Coach Johnston, there was some incredible assistant coaches on the staff. Like Don Clayton, Chris Massey. My freshman year, Dan Schreiber was on the staff. So there's a lot of big name coaches that were at Katy at the time that kind of helped mold me in different ways. And so just seeing the example of how they ran an off season, how they ran a practice, how the expectations that they set for us players, the way they did things, the way they showed up every day, just all of those things, that was the only way that I knew. When I started coaching, it was a little bit of a shock to find out that not everybody does things the way Katy does. So it was, I realized how fortunate I was to come up in that system where the expectations were always high. And that was even before Katy was the juggernaut that it is now. We were just starting to kind of start that journey of just elevating the program. My freshman year, the team went to state and lost to Plano, and that was the first time, in a long time that they'd been that far. So we got to see just kind of how that foundation was set before us, and just how the expectations just never wavered. And I think that's something that every coach can really hang on to, and just the little details of running a program were always just things that now I look back and I see, okay, that's why they did things like that.
Andres Gomez knew from the time that he got into junior high that coaching was his path.
I did. I always wanted to coach and teach. That was something that it was never. My parents weren't. They're just hardworking people. That they were not in education. But I have two older brothers, and we all ended up going into coaching. And I think for me, I was probably in 7th or 8th grade. And I had some really good coaches in junior high that I thought, man, I want to be like that. I want to be as influential as these guys that are showing me how to be a man, how to be a student, how to be an athlete, like all those things. I was very impressed by that, and I knew that's a path that I wanted to follow.
Helping open Klein Cain in 2018 was a learning experience for Coach Gomez and the Hurricane staff, especially during their first scrimmage.
The biggest thing was just again, the details of building a program. It's something we still laugh about. That first year that we were open, we didn't realize how much you had to account for that you didn't think about before you were at a new school. There's a great story that the Bridgeland opened the same year, and we scrimmaged them every year. And that first fall that we were open, we had our preseason workouts. We went out to the field. We're getting ready. Bridgeland's coming over to scrimmage us, and everybody's excited because we finally get to put a product on the field. And Coach Clancy hands me a bag and says, "Hey, go put that on the bench over there." And we look around and like, where are the benches? And so he looked. He said, "You know what? I didn't order benches. I didn't think about having to have benches on the sideline of a sub-varsity stadium." And he said, "Let's put that on the list. We got to make sure we have benches." And he said we always use that to remind ourselves that they're just a school. It just requires so many moving parts, and so the attention to detail of making sure that everything's in place. Every level, every kid, every team has to have certain elements.
Last year's win over Aldine in Week 2 is both a
The best way to describe it was relief. It's something that we, the year before we played, I think 3 or 4 ball games where we were really close. We were in it. We lost a double overtime game to Spring Woods. We lost by less than a touchdown to Sam Rayburn. We lost by a touchdown to Sam Houston. So we had a lot of close calls that first year, that second year, where we thought we were finally going to get that monkey off our back of getting that win. So I think there was a lot of frustration, a lot of there was a little bit of disconnect where they thought they were, the kids were working really hard and just not getting the results they wanted. And so, going into that year, playing, we played Baytown Sterling that first week, and we played a close game, just couldn't do much offensively and kind of struggled there. And so I think that there was a lot of frustration of when is this actually going to happen. So the Aldine game, we ended up playing some really good football in the first half. I made a couple of mistakes, towards the end, and there were some things that we wish we could have done differently. But in the end, coming up on top on the scoreboard there was just a big relief for our kids. They were excited, and they were happy to be able to finally just say, hey, we did this. We were able to achieve this. We were able to do this thing that we've been working on for so long. And it was something that they, unfortunately, we had the year before we graduated a group of kids who the whole time in high school didn't see a varsity win. And it was and those kids, like I said, I felt bad for them because they really did dedicate themselves to trying to move the program in the right direction, and they did. We played some really close games. They just didn't get that final score going in their favor, and so I think. But some of those guys that had graduated were at the game against Aldine, and they were in tears too. They knew that the work that they had put in had kind of leaked into the next year's team, and that the leadership that they had set forth had permeated through the ranks of the ones that are still there, and so they felt like that win was for them as well, and for all the work that they put in while they were here.
Fresh off of a bye week, the Raiders are refreshed and ready to battle with Cy Ridge on Thursday.
So last week we had our bye week, and it was we try to again just kind of go back to some fundamentals and make sure that we're our personnel was right. We had some couple of kids that were a little banged up, so we try to get them healthy. We had some just kind of back to the drawing board on offense and defense, and just simplifying things based on what we saw. We ran all the reports from non-district, all the things that we needed to see, and made some adjustments off of that. And then this week, the energy's been great. We've had 2 days where number one, the temperature's been a little better. The whole preseason we had to deal with the heat restrictions and what everybody else dealt with in the UIL, where the temperature at a certain level, you had to limit your practices or give them breaks, whatever. So that kind of interrupt the flow of practice, and we try to do something where we have some tents out there, and whenever they said, hey, you got to go into the tent, we brought some whiteboards and we brought some little things out there where we're just sitting around doing nothing. We were going over what the next segment was going to be. We're going over some plays. We're going over some covers, whatever. We try to use that time. If we had to be off the field taking a break, we try to use that time wisely so that we could still be learning or growing in some way. But this week, so the temperature dropped a little bit over the weekend with the rain, and so we've had full practices, and we had like I said, some of those kids got healthy, and we were very crisp. We did some some stuff again to polish up what we've been working on during the bye week, and then a little bit of competition stuff against each other, and we had some really good energy. So we feel good about where we are. Like I said, we're still working on a couple of those injured players. Trying to get them ready for Thursday, and if they can't go Thursday, then as soon as we can. But the guys behind them have been really good about stepping up. There's certain guys on the team that started off that weren't in the varsity locker room. They started on JV, and they've slowly kind of made their way up on the varsity level, and they're contributing. And that's one of the beauties of our program is that because of our numbers not being the same as some of the people that we face, there's nobody that doesn't contribute. Everybody on the team has a role. Everybody on the team has probably multiple roles, and so they all feel like they're contributing. There's very little dissent from people that aren't getting enough playing time. Usually it's the opposite. Usually it's guys that are getting worn down because they're having to play multiple positions or every special team, and so we have we've had, like I said, some really good segments in practice. We've had some really good attitudes, some really good competition going on. So we're excited about tomorrow. And like I said earlier, we're gonna take it one step at a time. We're gonna try to limit our mistakes, try to be crisp on all three phases of the game, and just kind of keep them at bay and see if we can make something happen.